Tyler Chappell, Pitt's 125 that we saw just a few matches ago, going up against Briar Priest. This is a familiar matchup. They've actually already wrestled this season.
And that's always interesting. It's a little bit rare, I think, to wrestle the same opponent this early in the season. Sometimes you see it when it happens once you get into the tournament, whether that's ACC or NCAA. So I'm sure there's things you learn from the first match, but most times you want to focus on kind of what you do, and you want to try to dictate the action.
Exactly. Dylan Chappell, number 25 in the Intermat rankings. He has made it to the NCAA tournament quite a number of times here. Hasn't been able to All-American just yet. You never know. We still have this season to go, but he's definitely made his mark on this Bucknell team.
Yeah, for sure. And I think he made it all the way to the blood round last year. So the Panthers obviously had a couple blood round losses, just absolutely brutal working through the draw to kind of get in that position. And I think what you're looking for is progression, right? So Chappell's grown every year. I think that his first year in the NCAAs, he didn't win a single match. The next year he won one, and then he won 3 last year. So you're all about building, getting better. And I think that's what the Bucknell coaching staff wants to see from Chappell here is, okay, you did pretty well last year. Now you got to get on the podium. What do you need to do in order to get that?
And speaking of podium, during his time in high school, Chappell was a 3-time Pennsylvania State runner-up, and then in college he's been the runner-up in the EIWA tournament 3 times. Hasn't been able to eclipse that number 1 spot.
And you feel so bad for a wrestler like that, just right on the precipice of trying to get there. And at some point, if you put the work in, you feel like eventually you're going to get it. And I think it says a lot about him, Chappell, just putting himself in that position, right? We know how good PA wrestling is. Being a runner-up in PA at the high school level was a very good accomplishment. So I think if he continues to work and grow and, like I said, that progression, hopefully things end up a little bit better for him this year.
Absolutely. Just under 1 minute here in this first period. No points on the board for either wrestler. Still working on some shots.
Yeah, we've seen the first rounds or the first periods of all of these 3 matches that we've seen so far have been kind of similar. A lot of feeling out, a lot of hand fighting, a couple half shots. Haven't seen anything really great, which is not unusual, especially these early season duels. You're still trying to figure yourself out, let alone you don't have much intel sometimes on the wrestlers on the other side.
Right, and these two met earlier this year at the Navy Classic, which is a pretty big tournament that you see a lot of teams at, just feeling each other out. You get some power conferences in there, as well as some quote-unquote mid-majors, but in wrestling that doesn't really mean too much.
Yeah, and I do love those that you mentioned, Katie, kind of like those early season tournaments. Wrestling's a little bit weird, right, is you have kind of an end-of-season tournament that decides the champion. So you get a couple of those early, and then you get into your dual season, and then you have to transition back into tournament mode for ACC and NCAA for the case of the Pitt Panthers. So it's nice to kind of get some of those early season tournaments under your belt, see how you handle wrestling multiple matches in a day, because that's not an easy thing either. So it's nice to see, and the Navy Classic certainly one of the better ones to open up the season.
Absolutely, and here we are in the second period, less than 2 minutes, almost at the 90-second mark. Chappell option to start on bottom, and now Priest is going to see if he can ride him out.
Yeah, and we've seen that the Panthers have been pretty good on the ride so far, going for a little bit of a mat return. Chappell was able to spin initially, but it looks like Priest is still in control. And the rest called a locked hands there. They're holding it for the moment.
That'll be a 1-point escape for Chappell. Still on the locked hands right there, and that'll be another point for Chappell on that penalty.
Yeah, so that's a tough break. I mean, you would have probably just liked to see Priest just cut him loose at that point. He got himself in a little bit of a weird position, got hit with the locked hands, and now Chappell has this 2-point lead instead of just 1.
And this is looking a little bit similar to their match at the Navy Classic, where Chappell did defeat Briar Priest 5-2 in sudden victory.
It's one of my favorites. I think it's my favorite way to determine kind of an overtime winner in any sport is you line up again, first point wins, settling on the mat. Heartbreaking if you're on the wrong side of it, obviously, but especially after you wrestle 7 minutes, you have to go another sudden victory period. Chappell tried a little duck under here, but in the case of Priest, so he's down 2 points. You really have to try to get something. The great thing about a 3-point takedown now is you can completely turn the match here just by a single takedown.
Yeah, and as we go into this third period with Chappell up 2-0, you've got to see Priest on that offense.
For sure. So Priest will start bottom again. The key is a quick escape here, and then he's still going to need a takedown at some point.
Right, and right now riding time is not currently a factor. Priest sitting at 43 seconds.
And the weird thing, too, is Bucknell still doesn't have a takedown in the match yet, so they're seeking their first takedown. I'm sure they'd love to just pick up a victory here if they can, takedown or not.
Priest still working. He's still finding his base.
Peeled the hands. Oh, really good. Really good stuff there by Chappell. It looked for a moment that Priest was going to get out there, but Chappell was able to switch over to that double leg and just force him out of bounds to get the reset.
That's some very strategic wrestling, wouldn't you say?
I would absolutely agree with you on that one. And sometimes those are just the little things, right? You get a reset. Now you can get back in the center of the mat. Chappell can work on his ride again. He's got that leg in, but Priest back up. And then Chappell with a strong mat return.
Priest going to his base every single time after that mat return. He's got less than 90 seconds to make some magic happen here.
And then finally, it looked like Chappell just kind of let him go, just rode that riding time down. Didn't want to put himself in a bad position. So riding time's not a factor in this match right now. Oh, double leg attempt there by Priest. Good sprawl by Chappell. Priest looks like he's switching off to a single, elevates the leg.
Chappell trying to Granby roll out.
Oh, now Chappell's in a bad position. Looks like he might be on his back there. Surprise. Chappell's actually trying to turn Priest at the moment, but he's really putting himself in a dangerous position. Looks like Priest is just hanging on for maybe a potential stalemate here. Now Priest elevates. He's in a better position now.
Still no points.
Chappell hanging on for dear life on that leg. Priest trying to jump over the top, but Chappell just has a death grip on that leg right now.
Less than 25 seconds left in this match.
Chappell trying to turn, or Priest trying to turn Chappell to his back there. Challenge brick comes in from Gavin, and there's 3 points by Priest. Just 5 seconds left, and another challenge brick by the Bucknell coaching bench. Priest is going to finish this up. For the moment, Priest has the victory, but we have dueling challenge bricks out here on the mat right now.
Now, how far did that Bucknell brick go?
It's certainly...
We're working on the left side of the mat right here.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a replay just of that challenge brick being thrown out.
You think that was an overhand toss or an underhand?
I couldn't tell. I was focused on the match, and I just saw a red brick come flying over from the side. So a lot of velocity on that. And there was certainly a lot to unpack there on that little scramble. So we saw the first challenge brick come from Gavin before they awarded the 3-point takedown. So my guess is that will just get taken away. And then the challenge brick thrown by the Bucknell staff is now what they're going to look for challenging if there was, in fact, a takedown by Priest there.
Absolutely. And Dan Wernsberger got an arm on him, as we just saw in his 21st season as the head coach for the Bucknell Bison.
And a lot of success, you mentioned it, Katie, as a Bucknell wrestler, head coach. I mean, he was a great wrestler in his own right. He was an NCAA runner-up, a Big Ten champ in 1995. He spent a couple seasons with another program before coming over to Bucknell, and he's been there for a while. Really, I think, strong program, and they really try to challenge themselves, which I think is good in wrestling, is you want to kind of go best on best, and he certainly curated a very difficult schedule to open it up.
For sure, and as his team goes through this adversity with a gauntlet of an out-of-conference dual schedule, it's also important to note that he went through the gauntlet himself whenever he got hired at Bucknell, because that team had not been recognized as a varsity sport at that school before he came in.
And that's a very good point you make. Yeah, it's about building and kind of growing a program. It's very difficult, I think, sometimes to kind of start from scratch and from going to one level of competition to another. And he's certainly been able to navigate the Bucknell program through that and have a ton of success, coached a lot of NCAA qualifiers as wrestlers, and now they're looking to kind of build. They got a ton of ranked wrestlers on this team, and I think it's probably something that
Absolutely. Now, our ruling is upheld. Briar Priest will get his ranked win versus Dylan Chappell, and that'll be 3 more points on the board for Pitt as they go up 9-0.